All right, I'm going to record this. And so, Ben, tell me what kind of led to the decision for you. You've been doing the Greco thing since you got out of high school. Now you're going to try your hand at college wrestling. What's kind of been the influence of that?
The big thing for me is just getting my education. I coached at Bucknell for a while, and I was unable to, coach at Bucknell, and I was unable to advance and get a coaching job just because I didn't have my education. You got to have your college degree in order to be a college coach, and I think in order to affect wrestling in the biggest way in America, I think that's being involved with a college program. And I know being involved with high schools and kids clubs is a lot of, it's a lot of like grassroots work, and I know a lot of people do it. But I think for me and my skill set, I think the best way to affect people is in the college level, in the college room. So that's what I want to do. I want to be able to give back to the sport that has, made me who I am. And, wrestling's a big family, as you know, and, I just want to be able to give back to the people that have, helped me so much in my career.
What about Grandview? They've made quite a splash in their level. What kind of pushed you toward that place?
Well, I found out I had eligibility in the NAIA. That was the big thing for me. I had my girlfriend goes to Embry-Riddle, and they have a NAIA program in Phoenix, or not Phoenix, Prescott, Arizona. Sorry, and I just just randomly applied to school and got in, and Embry's a pretty good school. So as soon as that happened, I contacted Grant Turner, and Grant is my Nike rep for wrestling. And, he has a great relationship with Grandview. He's one of the assistant coaches there. And, I know they're very more wrestling based. Like most NAIA schools really aren't going to be like Grandview as far as like very serious about wrestling. So I knew that Grandview would most likely help me the most in the wrestling aspect of my life. And then when I went to go visit them before nationals, they actually have a Serbian national team member that moved here. He married a girl in the area and has a baby over there. So it was nice to, it was a big change for me to have a really good Greco coach too, because, as you see in Greco, we're so far behind comparatively to the rest of the world. You look at the amount of medals we win in freestyle and the amount of medals we win in Greco, it's, night and day, because, folk style really limits Greco development, and because it's literally a different sport. So I think it'll be really nice to have me, working with him and learning a little bit of the, foreigner ways in order to, continue to get better at Greco, and then obviously wrestle in the NAIA and, bring back 4 national titles with Grandview.
So you're actually gonna have 4 full years of eligibility in the NAIA.
Yeah, I should have full eligibility. I kept calling the NAIA to see if that was actually true. And yeah, because I never took a full semester of classes, so I didn't take any more. I never took more than 12 credits. And also because I never attended a school that had folk style wrestling, my clock never started. Like their way of doing years is like competition. So if I had wrestled in any folk style competitions, that would have counted towards a year. But because I didn't, my clock never started technically in the NAIA.
So
Now D1 is different. Obviously, like if you wrestle right out of high school, your clock starts.
Right.
If you make money, your clock starts. But that's a nice difference from the NAIA to the D1 level.
How do you now, since you've been you did some coaching at Bucknell, clearly you're working with the Princeton guys right now. How comfortable do you feel in folk style? Like, it's been quite a while since you've competed there.
Yeah, it's been since high school, but being at Penn State for 2 years and then being at Bucknell, I really learned more folk style and freestyle things than I ever did in my whole life. Once I moved to Pennsylvania, and Pennsylvania is a huge folk style state. I mean, you know the history of Pennsylvania, as everybody does. It's by far the best country or best state for folk style wrestling. So yeah, I mean, I've been wrestling more folk style these last 4 years than I've ever in my life. So I'm really comfortable. People might not think I'll be able to shoot and be able to, scramble, but I know what I'm doing now because of, obviously, Kale and that coaching staff, and being at Bucknell. I know I competed with, NCAA qualifiers and NCAA champs the whole time I was there. And, I know I can hold my own.
I'd wondered about that. I wondered if your time at Penn State helped influence that decision, because Kale's, what he's done over there has been absolutely incredible over the last decade. So, I mean, like, so you totally, that time clearly spent time with the best college, like the best developmental, especially program for folk style wrestling. You feel like that's helped you get ready to go and make this. It's a big jump going from Greco back into folk style. Like it's great.
Yeah.
It's NAIA, but it's like I said, a completely different sport.
Yeah, definitely different sport. No, that helped me a ton. And, there's an influence there. Eric Thompson, you went to Grandview as well. He was a 3-time national champ, and he's a coach on the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club. There's a, connection there. But yeah, definitely just being around, Penn State and seeing the way, they live their lives, and, really just truly being concentrated on what you do off the mat, as far as living, what Coach Mitchell says is a championship lifestyle, just trying to do everything from my sleep habits to my, diet correctly, to my eating, to my lifting and how I work out. And, just being thankful for, having an opportunity to, I'm pretty lucky. I've never had a real job in my whole life. All I've done is wrestled. And now I have the opportunity to go get a $160,000 education for free. That's a really big thing that my, my girlfriend that I've been with the last year, she was, really worried about what I was going to do after wrestling, after, wrestling and fighting is done. So it's just setting up for my future, and, so I can support myself and my future family.
What do you think your challenges are going to be? I mean, north of 30, everyone hits 30 start. Do you feel a little bit more beat up now than you used to, or you still feel pretty good?
I honestly, so I had back surgery when I was 21. So I really feel that I wasn't truly like all the way developed in my core. So, I mean, I can tell that this is the strongest and, like the best I've ever felt in my life. I have a little problem with my knee, but, that'll be fixed in a few years. I'll get surgery on it. But obviously just the grind of wrestling. But I love working out. When I was 21 to 25, I really didn't love working out. I was just so talented in Greco, and not a lot of guys were much, I didn't really have too much challenge in the United States. But, the last few years, I really fell in love with the process, fell in love with, being on a good diet, fell in love with the process of going to bed early and doing all the right things in order to be a champion. And even though my results in the last few years haven't been great, this year I tried to drop down to 170 or 169 at Olympic trials. And I think that was a little bit too light for me, being that I normally weigh about 200 pounds. I fell in love with working out again. So I think that was a big reason I'm going back to school and, going to give myself this new challenge.
What do you, what weight class are you going to compete at when you go? What do you see yourself at? Like, where do you think you'll be comfortable?
I'll compete at any weight they need me at. Honestly, I'm not, I'd compete even at heavyweight, because I think it's even easier to wrestle heavyweights because that's mostly Greco.
That's true.
For me, it truly doesn't matter. Wherever the team needs me, I'll be there. And, I obviously think in the NAIA, I'll be able to compete with anybody from, 184 on up. I doubt I'll cut down to 174, just knowing how my body felt, when I was in really good shape and really feeling good before Olympic trials. I was weighing about 185, 190, where then that's when I'm like really in good shape, and I can feel, I can just see how vascular I am. That's my most comfortable weight. So 84, 97, wherever the team needs me, I'll be there for them.
Are you going to stick around Grandview after you're done with your competitive cycle? Are you going to coach there a little bit? Or are you going to try to branch out and coach maybe on the D1 level?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do. I know I want to get my sports management degree, and if they want me to get my master's and be the graduate assistant, I might do that as well, just to get my master's degree. So I might be there for 6 years, but I also want to fight. You know, I was recently signed to
Really?
Paradigm Sports, so that they manage like Conor McGregor and people like that. But we had to separate until I'm done with college. So I'd like to fight. I'll probably start that process while I'm at Grandview. So yeah, I'm just excited for what it may be. You know, even though I'm 30 years old, I really don't have a lot of tread on my tires because this is the only thing I've ever done. I've never had to work a real job. I've only ever had to train my whole life. So I feel like I have a lot left in the tank.
So you talk about fighting in MMA. What kind of brought that on? What's kind of led you into that? Just something you've always wanted to try, or just seemed like a
Um,
natural progression?
no, I never was like into fighting. I actually never been in a fight in my life, but I don't know. The first time I hit somebody in the face in an MMA gym, it was like a lightning bolt went through my hand. It was like something that was meant to be. And I never felt anything like that before. So, I mean, I know if I would have got into boxing or fighting earlier, I probably would have done it even more. It's just something that I really enjoy doing. My girlfriend's a boxer, so I've been learning stuff from her. And yeah, I think I have the perfect build for it. And I don't know, I like fighting.
Talk a little bit about Greco for me. You've been around the world. You've seen some of the best Greco programs. What does the U.S. have to do to kind of close the gap a little bit on those European nations?
Well, we need to adapt our style. You know, we need to create our own style as Americans. Our parterre needs to get so much better. And you know, if you look at it, you know, we've had three world champions in Greco in the history of, or maybe more, maybe five world champs in the history of USA Wrestling. Think about how big the United States is. We only have five world champs to teach the entire United States. And even some of those guys, I mean, not always are the best athletes the best coaches.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a lot of people in Greco don't understand how to truly break down Greco and to truly, you know, do the right steps. You know, I think our Greco is a lot of times we'll just lock up and throw people and go body locks, especially at the young age. Like Styles, you can be very open and have these crazy matches, but realistically, really hard Greco is literally a sumo match. Like in the Greco match against a European, I'm not going to let a European into one position because they're better at those positions than I am because they've been wrestling it longer. They've been wrestling one style their whole life. We need more people to commit at a young age. But what I truly think, what I truly think is there needs to be a team that can take over and dominate the United States. And then I think the right people and right funding will come in. I've always wanted to do that. It's something that I want to start. Maybe at Grandview, we'll be able to bring in a lot of Greco guys. You know, we had a junior, a FILA junior finalist at the trials this year with, I think Matt McCung was in the finals. But honestly, it's going to take a lot. It's going to take a lot of commitment. And I think the United States and a lot of people, you know, even USA Wrestling, they see the money comes from folk style. The money comes from freestyle. So they don't dump the same type of resources into Greco that, you know, so it's like we do worse every year almost, right? We get worse and worse and worse. And then they dump less and less into it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So if you put less and less into something that you're already bad at, it's not going to ever get better. You know what I'm saying? So I really think it has to come from private funding and a private club where they can take over the United States and almost have a whole world team. And then I think USA Wrestling can come along and, you know, help us out.
That's actually really interesting thinking. It's like the opposite of the RTC system that's really helped in freestyle, but it's a completely different sport. Like you said, everything about the Greco system in the US is completely different than the freestyle system in the US. So why not have the system be different altogether? I like that.
It definitely needs a change. I mean, and hopefully, and it seems like the Midwest is having a lot of, you know, with what's his name, Zach Dominguez in Nebraska, you know, Legends of Gold in South Dakota, and then having the Storm, having people like that. You know, I think the Midwest is where we got to start. And if you really look at it, a lot of our best Greco guys come from that Midwest area, you know, Wisconsin, Illinois, Iowa, those tough kids. And honestly, it's hard because the draw of folk style and the draw of freestyle is just so much bigger, and you can get a free college education. But when you go to a folk style system, it almost ruins your Greco, because it is just so different. And, I hope it can change, and I hope, some more people can start committing earlier, but we need a group of older Greco guys to form almost to help those younger guys get better at a young age, coming right out of high school. They need those, and Northern Michigan was one of those things when I was young. That was a really great program, but it sort of got ruined. So, we need another thing like that. And hopefully, either I can start it or somebody else can start it, because you can't just say like Northern Michigan right now, it just has a bunch of young kids, right? It's a bunch of young kids. There's 3 or 4 guys that competed at trials. But when I was young, they had half the world team, they had half the world team on that team. And, it's hard when you don't have a core group of older men to teach the younger boys coming up how to really wrestle Greco. So, I mean, I'm hoping we can form that in some sense of the way in the Midwest.
Do you think kind of what you're doing, you taking the international route and then going back to college? One of the few guys I can think of that's ever gone this way. Do you think you're kind of setting a precedent for maybe some of the Greco guys who find that their competition days are done to kind of go back, go to school, get a degree, and have an opportunity to compete a little bit? Do you think you're kind of trailblazing a path for that?
Yeah, I think it would be great. I think it would be great for others to do this as well. Obviously, I need to do it because of my education. But yeah, I think it's something that if you're really, high level in Greco coming out of high school, like I was, it's at least a path. It's at least a path where you can still get your education after competing internationally. Because, if you're really going to concentrate on Greco in order to be the best, coming out of high school, you need to be in a full-time senior level Greco program. And there's not many of those programs. But I hope I can set any type of precedent. I just want to set a good example for people. You're never too old to go back to school and, do new things. I think I was just ready for a change. Like, that's why I want to fight. It's why I want to go back and wrestle folk style. Obviously because of what I learned over the last few years in Pennsylvania, I want to go show that off, and I want to get my education and then obviously teach. I know I had Drew Phipps was one of the guys I was coaching at Bucknell. Yeah, the guy I'm staying with, CJ Brucky. I scouted against his brother, and Drew Phipps he's a good wrestler, but I don't think he has any business being in a match with Pat Brucky, and he ended up beating him. I'm just a really, I'm a wrestling brain. I like wrestling. I want to, I like figuring out how to beat people. I like, and that's what I want to do. I like helping people get better at the sport, and, me going back to school is so I can do that.
Ben, I want to thank you for taking a couple minutes with me and talking. This is going to be a great story. If you don't mind, are you cool if I put this video on the YouTube, our company YouTube page? Because
of course.
You're awesome on camera, man. This is really good. So I kind of want to share this out with people. Thank you. I'll probably have this article done next week. And then, if you can put it on socials or whatever, share it out. We'd appreciate it.
I'll definitely repost it, my man. Thank you very much. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too. Thank you very much for your time, man.
All right.